The next interview is with Alden, Olsson, and Joe Monteith.
Hello, we're back in the library again. This is Gene Horton. It's Thursday, May 23rd, 2013, and our guests this hour are Alden Olsson, who was born in Blue Point but currently lives in Bayport, and Joe Monteith, who was born in Blue Point or lived in Blue Point since his birth, and also now lives in Bayport. So welcome to Joe and welcome to Alden, and we'll hear what they have to tell us about what life was like for them in Bayport and Blue Point years ago. So who'd like to go first? Who would like to go ahead? And we'll fight that one out. Do you want to go, Joe? Go ahead.
We were talking about that just before we started, and life in Blue Point growing up was wonderful. It really was just a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up in. The people, the institutions, the way neighbors got along with neighbors and kids got along with kids. It was just a wonderful place to grow up.
It sure was. And Alden, you lived on Arthur Avenue, I think, years ago.
Yes, but I was born on Atlantic Avenue in Ed Hendy's house, right up by the railroad track.
Oh, that's nice.
My family was renting the house at that time. And then we moved to where we are on Arthur Avenue, right around the corner from Our Lady of the Snow. There was a handball court there where we played handball. We played anti-eye over. You remember? Team on either side.
Yep.
And you threw the ball over.
Yep.
And then you ran around and tried to hit somebody with the ball.
And that was all at those handball courts, right? The big one?
Yeah.
On Woodland Street.
No, right there. Right
opposite the church.
In the lot.
In the lot
church.
that was there.
In the lot where the auditorium is today.
And then when they excavated under the church to put a cellar in there, there was a big mound of dirt there for a long time, and we used to play on that for hours.
Really?
Yeah. In that empty field where we played baseball after the sand went away.
Now, did the school have a handball court over there? The school didn't, right out in the back?
I don't recollect that.
No.
They did.
Yeah, it seems to me someone told me about that, and I said, I don't remember that.
It was in the southwest corner of the playground, just abutting the Rose Fair property.
Handball court.
Yeah.
So Blue Point had two of them.
Yeah.
That must have been a popular sport.
You know, it's interesting. When I was a kid, not too many people played handball, but a lot of people went back there with tennis rackets and they practiced tennis.
But the big guys played handball. I don't know who they were anymore, but I don't know, Charlie Stroh and guys like that.
Yeah.
And now we don't have any handball courts, I don't think, either in Bayport. I think there's one in Sayville, maybe at the middle school. I'm sure you were closely associated with, your family was with the church in the old days.
Oh, yeah.
And Alden, I think your family, you were at the Baptist church, weren't you?
No.
Oh, you weren't? I thought you were...
We're Scandinavian. We were Lutherans. We went to the Patchogue Lutheran Church.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Oh. Al Drum and me. What a pair.
Two of you. He was Scandinavian.
Not quite.
Not quite, no.
We weren't exactly the best students in the class, but...
No, but I think you were one of the best athletes.
Well, I was pretty good.
Yeah, that's right.
In all modesty.
You're in the Hall of Fame, aren't you? Over at Bayport.
You're squeezing this out of me. Of course I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you're a Hall of Famer.
I was slick.
Yeah, slick.
Yeah.
That's on your plaque?
No, it isn't.
Oh, it isn't. Okay.
Yeah, there was one, if I remember, there was one basketball team back in the 40s that you were part of that won just about everything in Suffolk County.
I think that was Don Smith's group.
Okay.
Remember him?
Yes, I do.
He just passed away.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Recently.
But that was Johnny Comfort was on it, and I forget who else.
Yeah.
Stan Rhodes.
What year did you graduate, Alden, from high school?
44.
44 during the war.
It only took me 4 years to get out of high school, you understand, don't you, Gene?
But you went there you went to Blue Point School for 8 years.
Yes.
And then graduated from Blue Point School probably in 40 then, right?
In 40, yes.
40.
Yeah. Military was the principal.
Military.
You remember that name?
I remember the name, but I don't remember him.
Yeah.
Because in 1940, I believe, Mr. Hawkins became principal that year.
In the interim, there was an 8th grade teacher, Mabel Curry, was the was the principal for a while, and then Hawkins came along, and he was...
And Joe, you must know Mr. Hawkins.
Oh, very well.
Sure.
You know,
What year did you graduate from Blue
from
Point?
Blue Point, 53.
53.
So, Alden, you're 13 years ahead of me.
Yeah.
Sure, I still am, Joe.
Which was kind of like a generation in those days.
Generation, I know.
I mean, we lived on Blue Point Avenue, and I remember as a little kid seeing Alden come down Woodland Street and across by the church, walking to school or to the school bus. Or what? He was a big guy.
He was a big guy.
Yeah,
One of the big
guys. I was still riding a tricycle then.
I remember you were cute, Joe.
Cute. We're all cute when they're little.
I knew that would embarrass him.
Yeah, yeah. And what sports did you particularly like, Alden? It must
Basketball.
Have been, basketball was your big
but
thing.
in those days, we only had soccer, basketball, and baseball. So I played all three.
Yeah, all three.
Yeah.
And that was Coach Vignato.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Great guy.
Did you know him, Joe, at all? Was that after your...
In passing, I really didn't know
Yeah,
him.
you didn't know him, no.
Oh.
No.
But I know of him.
Yeah, of course, big name. Coach Vignato.
He was a good man.
Yeah.
Don, I've told you this before, but Don Smith and I went to him at one point and said to him, Coach, we have something to tell you. You've been named Coach of the Year. You know what he said? It's about time. I like him.
About time.
Okay.
Gee. Ay, ay, ay. Oh. Do you remember any teachers, Joe, from Blue Point School?
I remember.
Mrs. Larrabee, or
I was just thinking about that when I received this letter. Kindergarten was Mrs. Kane.
Mrs.
No,
Kane?
I was Rachel Walker in first grade. Do you remember
Sarah
Rachel?
Howard. No, that was
Oh, yeah,
been
Mrs.
before my
Howard.
time.
No.
Sarah Howard was in first grade. I forget her first name, but I believe her last name was Barfoot.
I think so.
In the second grade.
I think you're right, yeah.
It was Miss Adams in the third grade.
Hazel Adams was in the
Adams.
third grade, and her sister,
But
Carlotta?
Scott, was her sister, who was in the fourth grade.
Hazel Adams got sick or something earlier in the school year that year, and we
really?
had, I guess, a permanent sub for the rest of the year, and that was Lillian Gorel.
Oh, really?
She was our third grade teacher for most of the year. Yeah. Years later, it's really funny how life is. My wife taught for a while at the Sylvan Avenue School after we were married, and who did she have the classroom next to but Lillian Gorel?
Is that
Lillian
right?
Gorel, yeah.
Small world.
Yeah.
And in the fifth grade was Miss Cook.
Miss Cook.
Miss at the
Later.
time. But Arthur Larrabee used to come and look in the window and and married her shortly afterwards.
Yeah. Mr. I never knew him. I never knew Mr. Larrabee.
He's a big, tall, nice
He
looking guy.
was.
Yeah.
Did he die prematurely or
I don't know
something?
that.
Because I only knew Mrs. Larrabee, that's all.
Yeah, that's all I knew.
Yeah. I never... And I still go by her house and think, oh, that's Mrs. Larrabee's house over here on Bayview.
Surely.
Yep.
Nice
It's a
spot.
beautiful house, by the way, the people that have it today.
Who's in it?
I don't remember right offhand, but they keep it beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mrs. Larrabee's house.
Let's see. Fourth grade was Mrs. Klinger.
For you, fourth grade for us was Carlotta Scott, who was Hazel Adams' sister.
And her daughter was in my class going through school.
Is that right?
Sandy.
really?
Yeah, she's in that picture that
okay.
I'm copying.
Oh.
Fifth grade was Emma Hannon.
Oh, yeah. Mrs. Hannon.
Sixth grade, Alice Larrabee.
Oh, yeah.
She had moved up to sixth grade.
Yeah.
She replaced Mrs. Terry, a formidable woman. Do you remember her? Tall,
I don't.
dark-haired. And...
No.
No?
No, I don't.
And in the seventh grade...
Alice was pretty formidable herself.
She was formidable. She was.
She kept you under control.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she wasn't a big woman.
No.
I mean, physically, she was 5'3", or I don't know what she was, but
She was
small.
she was sturdy, however.
Sturdy.
Yeah.
Left to be kind.
Sturdy. Yeah.
And Marjorie Morton was in the seventh grade. She was a lovely woman. Do you remember her?
I don't know. We had Bruce Coombs. We got a few teachers coming in who were World War II guys who
The veterans.
went through school on the GI Bill.
Sure.
Bruce Coombs was one. He had the seventh grade. Charlie Clough.
Oh, yeah,
was
Charlie
the eighth
Clough.
grade
Oh,
teacher.
really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
He's buried back here, Charlie Clough.
Is he?
Yeah.
Nice man.
Mother, I think, is still alive, right, in Florida. Is it, or Agnes
Agnes.
Clough.
Yeah.
Is that his mother?
No, it's his wife.
His wife.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got them mixed up. Okay. His wife. She's still in Florida.
Was she a teacher?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
She was not when we were kids. I think she was bringing up children then, but later on she became the school principal. She was not the school principal, she was the secretary.
Oh, secretary. Yeah. And of course, she knew Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, she did.
Oh, yes. Mr. Hawkins was wonderful. I often heard that if it was a disciplinary thing, Mr. Hawkins threatened with this Board of Education or something. Or the other thing he used to have kids do, I heard, was go out on the lawn and pick all the dandelions. I don't know whether that's true or not, but
I hadn't heard that one.
that's what I heard.
The big story, and of course, I'm sure it never happened.
Yeah.
A story, and I guess an implied threat, that if you really cross the line, Mr. Hawkins is going to take you down to the boiler room, and you're really going to get it. To my knowledge, nobody ever did go to the boiler room and get it, but it was always like, you better watch out. You're going to wind up in the boiler room.
You didn't say what they got.
Supposedly you had a very big paddle down there that he would use on you.
Yeah.
My father was the custodian all those
right.
years, and he and Hawkins were great friends, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long did he work there? Was he after Mr. Hawkins' time, or he stayed during Mr. Hawkins'
Well,
time?
he died when he was 65 or so.
He did.
So, yeah.
Axel.
He had a heart.
Axel Olsson.
He had a heart attack. He thought he was having indigestion problems.
Yeah.
And he just died suddenly one day.
Because I remember reading in one of these old newspapers somewhere that the day of your father's funeral, they closed the school.
Well, I think so.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. They don't do that anymore.
No. I remember Mr. Olsson very well, and he was he really was a wonderful man.
He was good to the kids. He liked kids.
He was.
So
And as kids, in the hierarchy of things, he was almost, in our minds, he was almost like a co-principal of the school.
Yeah, really?
Hawkins included him in everything.
Yes.
The silly act they used to do on Halloween, they'd both get dressed up and run around. And he kept the school property pristine.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. Inside and outside, right?
Yeah.
In and out. He used to mow the lawn with the lawn mower.
Wow.
And that's a big lawn.
That's a big lawn.
I used to sweep under the desk for him because he was getting a little difficult for him to bend over.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a job,
Oh, it is.
leaning over and getting stuff up.
And he did it all by himself for years. I don't remember them being anyone else there.
I don't recollect. No.
It was a one-man show.
Yeah. The other thing I remember about Mr. Olsson, and in the old days, if there was a fire, Bob Brown, who had the grocery
Two
store,
of them would go over and open the door.
he had the key to the place. He'd go over and open the doors, and your father would start the first truck.
Yeah.
And
Remember
he'd
that?
have the truck all pulled out,
Yeah.
ready to go.
That's probably faster than today.
Huh?
It was
Probably
faster.
was. Yeah, it probably was.
Sure.
Yeah.
And my father liked to tell jokes.
he
He'd
did.
stop you and tell you a joke as soon as he saw you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dirtier, the better.
He never told me any jokes.
I'm sure that,
I know.
Yep. Alden, do you remember the wooden school over there?
How old do you think
I don't know. I'm not.
How dare you?
Oh, that's
No.
right. 1929. I'm thinking 1940. That's right. 29. I've always seen
I wish I could remember
Yeah.
it, but I've seen the pictures.
pictures.
That's all.
I'm always wondering if the old wooden school had a bell, and whatever happened to the bell. No one. Everyone I asked, they don't know that.
There's a bell in front of the library, isn't there?
No, there's one down from the firehouse here.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Oh.
but that was the fire bell.
Oh, okay.
And then the most common answer is, well, it was melted down during World War II. It's gone.
We had to defeat the Bosch.
Yeah, I don't know any of that is true. But anyway, the school across the street was 1929, right?
Yeah.
They don't build them like that. That, I think, is the oldest building in Bayport-Blue Point today.
Really?
The other, when was the high school built? It might have been built around the same time, around
Maybe the
29.
firehouse. I don't know. The original
Oh,
firehouse.
no, I mean a school building.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. The high school, the original high school, was probably built around that time, too. It's also an interesting thing about the only school building in town here that has a name is James Wilson Young. The others are only known by
that's
their
true.
street. Your Academy Street, Sylvan, Blue Point.
But if you went around Bayport now and said, "Who's James Wilson Young?"
Who?
Yeah.
Not a soul.
I often think the school across the street should have been Dwayne Hawkins. That would have been nice, because he was here for 30 years. But anyway, minor point.
He was Blue Point's not an incorporated village, so we never had a mayor. He was about the closest thing to a mayor. Dwayne Hawkins.
Dwayne
So
Hawkins.
Sure.
He had to take part in every ceremony, the opening of the Little League season, and
The dedication of the post office.
Everything, yeah.
He was on the library board here.
Yeah.
He loved it.
He loved it.
Sure.
He really did.
Yeah.
The other man I remember in town, and Joe, you probably knew him better than I did for sure, Dr. Breyer.
Oh, yeah.
Your next door neighbor.
That's right.
You know what always got me about Dr. Breyer? He had like a stiff neck. He always had to look at you so without turning
Yeah.
his head.
How about the fact that he was humorless?
He was
You had a hell of a
humorless.
time
Yeah,
to
he
make
was.
him laugh.
He was almost scary when you saw him coming up to walk with a little black bag.
What I remember, and a lot of the kids remember, because we laugh about it a little.
Yeah.
Al Volkman and I used to laugh about it. After you had a cold or a sore throat or something,
Yep.
so you go to Dr. Breyer and say, and he'd go through the whole thing. And then he'd very casually walk over to this little box that he had,
Yep.
and he'd drop a couple of things in it, and what it was a sterilizer.
Oh, it was a
He
steroid.
was sterilizing
Really?
a needle.
Really?
You know, he'd go over there. And then you said, uh-oh. We're in for it, yeah. Okay. Dr. Breyer, is you?
Yep.
Yes, I am. Yes.
And he lived next door to you for years, right?
Yeah.
He was there a long time.
As a kid, I don't remember anybody else living there.
No.
He lived there when my parents moved into the house.
Probably did. And the other one I remember was Mrs. Lester. I always thought they were married. I thought it was husband and wife.
Well, maybe they were.
No. Mrs. Lester, you remember her?
Oh, I remember Mrs. Lester.
Frances Lester.
She was a nice lady.
Nice lady.
She was.
Yep.
She was good for his office.
She died in Riverhead at the age of 106.
Wow.
Really?
Frances Lester. She was the oldest resident of Suffolk County at the time of her death.
Wow.
Yeah.
She had
And
many-
Dr. Breyer, he went to Florida, and he married
Carlotta?
Carlotta Scott or Adams, whatever.
Scott. She
Scott.
Was by that time. Yeah.
But Dr. Breyer, in those days was the only game in town. I mean,
It was the only game in
he
town.
delivered babies. He set my shoulder once.
Set
He
your
set my
arm.
wrist once.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it
No
all.
physical therapy after either. Just
No.
okay, you're all done now.
Did it right in the office.
Stitched you up. He did
Yep.
everything. It was a one-stop shop.
Nowadays, you never hear of a doctor having his office in his house.
No.
Never.
No.
And Dr. Breyer did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them did in the old days.
Yeah.
And I remember he had a big black car. I don't remember what kind of a car, but it was a big car.
I think it was a Buick.
Was it
if
a
I remember.
Buick?
No, Chrysler. It
A
was
Chrysler. I just remember that. And such a sense of humor. I mean, one joke after the
a hail
other.
fellow he
A
wasn't.
hail fellow.
But he was, when he retired, the whole town threw him a party.
They did.
In
I know.
Felice's restaurant. in
Yeah.
Patchogue.
I've
Yeah.
forgotten that, but
Yeah.
I suppose we were there.
I know.
I imagine you were. The whole place was sold out.
And you know who the master of ceremonies was?
No.
Dwayne Hawkins. He was.
Who else?
Who else? Like Joe said, the mayor of Blue Point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else do you want to talk about in the old days? I know you gave it some thought.
Well, I remember the summer people.
Oh, yeah.
And your family started out here.
We were summer people, sure.
And I remember that pretty much, I guess prior to the end of World War II anyway,
Yes.
and maybe up to the Korean War, pretty much of everything south of Middle Road was summer houses.
Yes.
There were very few people who lived down there year-round.
Yeah.
The Shelbournes. Do you remember that? You
I
know
don't
Sonny
remember
Shelbourne?
the Shelburnes. No.
You know Shelburne?
Yeah, Billy Shelbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His family, the Canes.
The Canes, they were summer people.
Remember the Canes? Bobby, Tommy,
no, I
Vincent?
don't remember
No, I
them.
don't remember them.
They were all swimmers.
No.
Broningers,
No, I don't know.
Gordon
them.
Broninger.
But Memorial Day weekend, you would see coming down Blue Point Avenue cars with mattresses attached to the roof.
Yeah. They're
And then
moving.
Labor Day, you'd see them go the other way.
And I remember at Our Lady of the Snow, they always took up the coal collection in the summer because that's when the people were there. A lot of people from the city.
The rich people.
The rich people. So,
That's right. That's right.
And then this is just
And
really
they added a mass during. By the way, now they have one fewer masses during the summer
Yeah,
because
they
so many people
go away.
who live here go away during the
Yeah.
summer.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that right?
It went
Those
the other
days,
way.
They added a mass in the
Yeah.
summer because you had so many people coming here for the summer.
And back in the old days, too, I remember weekday mass during the cold weather was in the basement of the rectory.
No, it was in the parlor.
In the
No,
park.
no, in the dining room.
In the
What-
dining room.
At one time was the dining room.
Because they didn't want to heat
That's right.
that big church.
That was Father
Is that right?
Schutz.
Father Schutz.
Yep.
And they to fire up the coal. I mean, it would take a lot of coal to get that building warm.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd only do it one day a week.
You know what else they did in the basement? Tommy Goodwin, you remember Tom?
Oh, yeah.
Marie Goodwin.
Yep.
They had
Boxing.
he set up fights down
Fights. I know. They had boxing
That was
matches.
before my time.
And-
all right.
I remember roller
But
skating
we used to
down
go
there.
and lie down and look through the cellar windows and watch the fight.
Yeah. And they had a ring there and everything, right? A ring,
Oh,
you
a
know.
ring, of course.
And
How can you fight?
Yeah, you
just
have
want
to have a ring.
brawl? You gotta have a ring.
Well, he was a boxer himself in the Navy.
He
if I
looked
remember.
like it, didn't
Yeah.
he?
I remember my father telling me he was
I bet he.
lightweight champion in the Navy.
I bet
or
he was a
something.
pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
had the nose to prove
Yeah,
it too.
yeah, he did. Right, got beat. Yeah. And his wife was postmistress here for
Sure.
I don't even know how many years. A lot of years.
She was
Yeah.
a big woman.
Yeah, she was tall, as I remember.
tall woman.
He wasn't.
No,
Tom was not tall.
No.
he really looked up to his wife.
Yeah, he looked up to her all the time. Yeah.
The summer, the summer also, as I got a little bit older, brought a lot of kids. And,
Oh, it did.
you had more people to hang around with and more people to
Yeah.
become friends with.
Sure.
In fact, one of the summer kids is my best friend to this day, and that's Bill Blaber, whose
Oh,
family
yeah.
had the
Blaber.
house that
Sure.
you own now.
Yeah, Billy Blaber.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
He
that
was only
name.
down the house within the last year. They live in Garden City now,
Floral Park.
a floral park. And I
Yeah.
still communicate with him.
Oh yeah, I see him
Back and forth.
I see him quite often.
Yeah.
And his
Was he a doctor?
no, that was Ollie.
That was-
Ollie Blaber.
Oh, Ollie.
That was his brother.
His
But the
brother.
father was a
Marie
doctor.
Schmidt was his sister.
Yeah, Marie.
Yeah.
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 So, and his father was a doctor.
His father
yes.
was a doctor, Dr.
He
Blaber.
was actually the only male of his generation that didn't become in that family that didn't become a doctor.
Really?
He didn't, no.
No.
Was he on Wall Street or something, isn't he? Or,
No, he works
I don't know
for
what he
a
does.
furniture company.
Oh, furniture?
And, but his son, it skipped a generation. His son is a doctor.
a doctor.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And one of them was a nun. There was a nun in that family, too. And her name was Sister Olivia. Sister of St. Joseph.
Sister Olivia was Dr. Blaber's sister,
Sister.
Bill's aunt.
Yeah.
Aunt.
In the Ursuline?
No, Sisters of St. Joseph.
Where's that?
Brentwood.
Brentwood.
And
Okay.
in fact, I
And,
think she was the Mother Superior for a while of.
I think she was.
Yeah.
And one of the Sisters of St. Joseph came down to my house at one point and said, I've been here before. She remembered when she came with Sister Olivia.
Really?
Way back, yeah. But that was years ago. So, but anyway, they were an interesting family, the Blabers.
Yeah, they were.
They came to my house once years ago and looked in, and I saw them. They were taking pictures, so I invited them to come in, and they were surprised because where my dining room is, that was their living room. And they, you know what it is? They expected to come in and see the house
As it was.
like it was when they were there, and it wasn't the same. No. But it was fun to meet them anyway.
Oh, sure.
Nice people.
Yeah.
The Blabers. Yeah, we had interesting people. What else, Alden? Any other little interesting little tidbits about Blue Point? Were there any sports in this school over here in Blue Point when you were a
Blue Point?
student there? I know we had a gym,
We had a gym.
but I don't know if we had...
We didn't play other.
Not other schools. It
Not
was
that
more
I
like
recollect, no.
intramurals. It was high school where you really
Yeah, in high school.
excelled. Do you remember the Railroad League?
Sure, that's when
That was interesting.
that's when they didn't have enough gas for gasoline, so we had to go on the train
Yeah.
to only towns that were along the.
They could only play towns
Save a lot.
online. Amityville.
Sable, Islip, Bayshore, all right, Lindenhurst, Babylon.
Yeah.
And that was about the extent of it.
You couldn't go to Port Jeff
No.
No.
Who'd want to go to Port Jeff? Come on.
because you didn't have gas to get over there. So it was the old Railroad League.
If you went to Port Jeff, you'd have to play against Ray Trigoni. He was. You don't remember the name?
No, I don't remember that name.
But he was a good. He was a.
Was
really
he?
good- Yeah, he was a good ball player.
Did you play schools? Didn't you go to Centum Riches? That would be on the railroad line,
No,
wouldn't it?
no,
You
we
didn't go
didn't.
out that far?
Oh no, Centum Richards. That's
Centum
over
Riches.
the county.
That was like over the...
It's out in the farmlands.
That was farmland.
We
Yeah.
did go to Central Islip. It was a nice town. They threw stones at our bus while we were leaving.
That's terrible.
Damn town because of that
Terrible.
asylum that they had.
Yeah,
That's always
yeah.
been a tough town.
Yeah, it's a tough town. Yep.
Even when they closed the hospital, it was still a tough town.
But now they have the stadium is there.
Yeah.
And the courthouse is there, and
It's all changed.
it's changing.
It's all changed.
Changing.
Yeah.
Remember in the old days, you're going to CI. Well, if they ever said that to a kid today, the kid wouldn't.
Oh, I know.
They wouldn't know what you meant.
No.
When I first went in the police department,
Yeah.
most of my first a couple of years was up in Central Islip and Brentwood.
Oh.
And for a kid who grew up in Blue Point, that was
Tough.
That was tough.
that was a culture shock, to say the least.
Yeah.
But it was a tough town.
How long were you in the force?
Yeah.
39 years.
Where?
Yeah.
What year did you join, Joe?
In 1961.
That was right after it was formed.
It was a year and a half after it was
Year and a
formed.
half.
Yeah.
Because we had Brookhaven Town Police.
Yes.
And then we went.
Was there some kind of formal training? I mean, you just couldn't become a cop.
Oh, no. When they formed the county, before the county, there was really very little formal training.
All right.
When the county was formed, they established a police academy. So you had to go through
Oh,
the
surely,
program.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long was that?
When I went through, it was a month in 1961. Now it's 6 months.
Wow, big difference.
Oh yeah, but the world has changed.
The world
I mean,
has changed.
You
Yeah.
know, you had to, obviously they spent a lot of time on firearms. They didn't want to turn you loose.
Yeah.
Not knowing how to handle a gun, that would have been
The originator of the loose cannon.
on the laws of arrest and the vehicle traffic law. Of
course.
Oh, God, yeah.
All the things that were important in those days. But today,
Today.
I mean, with technology, with court, the number of court decisions that have come up that have affected police over the last 50 years,
Yeah.
fill that library with.
Easily.
And so all the new guys have to know those.
Yeah.
And they have to know about domestic violence. And they have to know about search and seizure and all kinds of
And
things.
and
that,
citizens' rights.
Your rights.
Things like that.
all
That's
kinds of
such-
things that, really weren't that important in those days
Yes.
because
Yeah.
courts hadn't ruled on a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
When I started, I had just graduated from college.
You went to Manhattan, right?
Yeah. And the people that I worked with looked at me like I had, two heads. You went to college? And I just kind of fell into it. Never thought I'd spend as much time there as I did.
Did you have some family that had gone to Manhattan before?
Oh, my father did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But never in law enforcement.
No.
No.
Did you know Johnny Verizon?
No.
What about
The Sable Boy. He played for Manhattan.
No, I didn't.
He was a hell of a ball
I
player.
didn't. I know the name. I didn't know him though, because again, he's quite a bit older than I am.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I did know the name.
Oh, he
In
was-
fact, I think he was the baseball coach in Islip. For a while.
Basketball.
Basketball.
Because that was
Okay.
his thing, and he was remarkable. You had to see Johnny Verizon play. Wow. Wow.
But you flash ahead to today, and virtually everybody that is hired today, at least in Suffolk County, is a college graduate.
Sure.
And so the whole world has changed. The job has changed. Salary has certainly changed.
Yeah. You were there during golden years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Joe who? Remember that? I remember
You were there that night,
I was
yeah.
there at your testimonial dinner, and someone said, "Wait a year," and everyone's going to just be saying, "Joe who?" Like,
That was Roscoe Palmer. I
Yeah,
found
that
that
was-
name for a cop.
that's
Roscoe
right.
Palmer. He was the
That was the-
retired chief of the Riverhead
Yeah.
Police
Oh,
Department.
really?
but that was the best speech, Joe, at your.
He said some very nice things about
Yes.
me, and
Yeah.
gee, I'm flattered.
Yeah.
Then he says, "But,"
Is that right?
and he hands me a plaque about the size of this piece of paper, and it says Joe Who on it.
Out of sight, out of eye. Yep. And I remember even in the parade, Joe, we're walking down the street this year or last year, whenever it was, and a number of the police officers, they didn't know you.
No.
No. Had no idea.
13 years is a long time.
It's a long time, sure. It's like if I go back to school, nobody knows me.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Probably just as well.
Yep, just as well. So what else can we talk about from the old days, Alden?
The old days in Blue Point? Oh, I don't know. It was a nice town.
It was.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. Wasn't it, Joe?
It was wonderful.
It was a wonderful
What
place.
led you to Bayport, Alden? You live in Bayport now. After you got married, did you go to Bayport?
We didn't get kicked out of Blue Point.
You didn't get kicked out, I'm sure you didn't.
Flo's family was from
Oh,
Bayport.
Flo's, yeah, of course, Shan's, of course.
Yes.
Now, were you a classmate of Flo's? Is that how you met?
Oh, yeah.
You were,
Well, in Bayport High School.
at the high school,
Yeah.
sure.
I had some other young things in Blue Point.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Flo didn't go to Blue Point. No.
Do you remember the Brahm family?
Brahm.
Louise Brahm, Irma Brahm?
No.
Oh, all right. But they were cute little girls.
They were cute little girls.
Yeah.
And Joe and I, we were Seton Hall.
Yeah.
I don't know what year. You were 60.
57.
Oh, you got out in 57.
That was sort of a
Wow.
restricted school. You were under close watch.
You were under close watch, all right. Yeah, 57 you graduated. Well, I graduated in 60.
Joe Stapleton, who went all through grammar school with
Yeah, I
me,
remember them up here, yeah.
and I were the only two out of that Blue Point Avenue class that went to Seton Hall.
Oh, two.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stapleton?
Jimmy Stapleton's younger brother.
Oh, I didn't know.
Joe.
I knew
Yeah.
Jimmy, but
Jimmy had gone there also. Jimmy was, I think, 2 or 3 years ahead of us.
And then there was
Yeah,
Eugene.
And
Gene
Gene was
Stapleton.
younger. Gene
Yeah,
was younger.
he was more. Yeah, I was young. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
I think Gene, and the younger one, I think the youngest one, I believe, was George.
See, I didn't know George. I guess I just knew Gene. Yeah.
And the oldest of the family was Jane.
Oh, Jane, I didn't know
Yeah.
her. No.
Jane was a year or two ahead of Jimmy.
No.
I didn't know. I didn't know. About
No,
her.
I didn't
just
know
knew
her.
Jimmy.
Do you remember any characters here in town? The one I do remember, maybe you do, Sadie. Do you remember Sadie?
Sadie, the Huckleberry lady.
She was strange.
What did she do?
She just walked the streets, but
Yeah. I guess today she'd be called a homeless person.
homeless.
Really?
I heard
But she
she.
used
Where'd she
to
stay?
I don't know, but she was
would sell huckleberries.
huckleberries.
Yeah.
And she'd knock on the door and, I have some huckleberries for sale. I'm sure she was, over to your parents' house because she was all over the place.
Probably so.
But she was scary.
Yeah. She was, when I first went on the police department, as I said, I was working down in Islip Town, in that area. I'd see her walking the streets in Islip and Bayshore. She was all over the place.
All over.
Not just here.
Really?
Yeah.
I always heard she lived in the outhouse to the railroad station. That's what I heard. That's probably not true, but
I don't know. I don't know where she went in the winter.
but
But
right to Miami. With all the huckleberry money.
well, it's funny because some of the cops that I got to know when I started, who had come from the old town police departments,
Yeah.
had been there for a while.
Sure.
The so-called town drunks in those days,
Yeah.
which I guess would also be kind of
know
called
them.
homeless people,
Sure.
right? And they had justices of the peace then. There wasn't, a district court. And
Yeah.
these guys would habitually get arrested, and come October or so, they'd bring them to the judge, and the judge would say, well, Sam, or whatever the guy's name was,
Have a nice winter.
yeah, and send him to the county jail.
Go to jail for the winter.
And he'd thank the judge.
Yep.
Thank you, Judge.
He'd get his meals. He'd be
3 squares in there.
in bed.
Yep.
Go to jail.
And he'd be out by May.
You're out in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a system.
And it was common practice.
Did you know Clarence Sampson here in Blue Point? Because he was a cop.
I did.
believe.
His daughter was in my class. In
Oh, was
Brooklyn
she?
Avenue.
Is
yeah.
that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was a good guy, Clarence Sampson.
He was.
I
Big,
liked
tall
him.
man.
Big, tall
Yeah.
guy, yeah. His family was friends with my family because of the Scandinavian background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he live over there on Paumanok? Didn't he?
He did,
Right
yes.
in that corner. That's where Bernie McLaughlin lived.
Yes.
That house, I
Originally,
think.
though, they lived down on Park Street.
Oh, did
Oh,
they?
so-
Yeah.
yeah.
Samson.
Yeah.
About
Nice
the
man.
same house down at the foot of the hill.
Yes.
By the
My mother always referred to him as Sammy the cop. That's the only reason Yeah, Clarence Sampson.
He was a nice man.
Yeah, he was.
Yes, he
yeah,
was.
Yes.
yeah.
He truly was.
The other crossing guard we had, of course, you knew her, from Smith Street.
Oh, yeah. And
Frank and Dory Rossiter.
Rossiter.
Dory Rossiter. You knew Dory, I presume,
Yes,
right? Or
of course.
Frank.
Yeah.
And before any of this modern time school crossing guards, they actually had a police officer.
Elmer Roberts.
Brookhaven
Oh,
Town.
yeah, Elmer Roberts. I remember that
Do you
name.
remember him?
Yep. Was he a crossing guard here?
Not a crossing guard, he was a patrolman.
He was a regular
But
police officer.
they didn't have crossing guards in those days, so they'd pull him off the road and he'd let the kids
He
in
was
and out.
what is known as doer. You know what? He didn't smile too much,
Oh, he
Elmer.
didn't. He didn't.
Remember Elmer?
I don't
No,
remember him.
I know.
I know the name, but I didn't know him. No.
I mean, he was a fearsome guy in his uniform
Yeah,
and his
yeah.
non-smiling. Me and
Al Werner told me once that he was the law in Blue Point.
yes, he was.
He was. That was it.
He was what?
The law in Blue Point.
Law.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
But the first real crossing guard they had, and it was still back in the town days, was Mr. Egan.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
Mr. Egan.
They lived on Woodland.
From Woodland Street. Yeah.
Merle Egan? No.
No,
I'm trying to think of his first name.
Egan.
They lived on the
I know who you mean, Mr.
south
Egan.
side of Woodland,
Yeah,
just east of Arthur Avenue.
Well, over in our area.
Yeah.
yeah.
I know there was a young fellow over there was named Merle Egan. Could have been his
It
kid.
could have been his kid because he was
it
quite
could have been.
elderly when he was working as a street crossing guard.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Merle?
I don't know.
He used to scoot around town in a car and skid the wheels coming around the corner. He was a terror.
I remember him.
No?
No.
The Egans lived next door to the Smiths. Harry Smith.
Harry Smith?
Yeah, Harry
Yeah.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't he caretaker at the church
Yeah,
for a while?
he was, yep.
Harry Smith.
Yep.
But he died in a fire or something. He was killed. His
I-
house went on fire.
I don't remember how he died. I remember
Yeah.
I was an altar boy at his funeral. Now.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Do you remember Bishop Daly?
Oh, I remember him well.
Poor Bishop Daly.
He
was a thin man, wasn't he?
yes.
He still is.
he trained me to be an altar boy.
Yeah.
His brother used to come in the Shands
Yeah.
Market, and he was a nice little guy.
Yes, he was.
Did
What
you know
was
him?
Buddy.
Sure you
Yes,
did.
Bud.
I did know him.
Yeah. What was
Buddy.
it?
They called him Bud,
Yeah.
but I don't remember what his real name was.
Yeah.
But Buddy. Yeah.
When he first came to Blue Point, he came to Blue Point as a priest right out of the seminary. It was his first parish.
Did he? Yes.
Yeah. And I remember we had a front porch then, and I remember Mary, who was one of my
Lady.
father's cousins who lived with us.
Yeah.
And she's sitting on the porch, and they were very active in the church. And she looks across the street, and she sees Father Daly. And she says, "For the love of God, don't they feed them in the seminary?"
He was always,
he was.
always thin. He was always
Oh, yeah.
thin, almost emaciated.
Yeah.
I mean, we looked
Yeah.
at him.
Yeah. But he was.
He weighed maybe 100 pounds. I don't
Yeah.
even know if he weighed 100, but
Yeah.
Do you remember Father Rohr? When
I
I was a
remember
kid,
the
that-
name.
that
I
was
remember the
that was-
name, too.
Remember the
Rohr.
name? Yeah.
Rohr, but
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know him, no. And then, when Daly was here, this is what I heard. Father Schutz was a vegetarian, so there was no meat in the rectory.
Oh, my God.
That didn't help.
I didn't know that.
Yes, no meat and no car.
Oh, no.
You don't need a car here.
No.
You walk everywhere.
That's right.
How long did he last?
Not long. he told me the story one day.
Yeah, he
And,
did say
the straw that broke the camel's back is his
Yeah.
parents retired, and they bought a house down by the convent.
Yeah.
One of those bungalows down there.
Yes,
It used to be part of the Sanger
Yes.
property.
Yeah.
And Father Schutz found out that his family bought a house here. Well, it was like this in those days, I guess.
Yeah.
Calls Brooklyn, because it was all the Brooklyn diocese then, and says, "Get him out of here. I don't want a man living with his family." So they transferred him to a parish in Richmond Hill,
Oh, did they? Boy,
where
big
they had the
difference.
worst pastor in the diocese.
Is that right?
Oh. He finally managed to get himself out of there, and he went to St. William the Abbot in Seaford, I think.
That
it
was nice, I think.
And that was nice, yeah.
When did they move the diocese to Rockville Center?
57. They split Brooklyn. They split the diocese.
It was oversized in Brooklyn?
It was getting too unwieldy, so they split Nassau and Suffolk, formed the Diocese of Rockville Center.
Yes, yeah.
In 1957.
Right.
And if you happened to be stationed out here in 57, you were locked in.
Stuck in place.
And then if you were in Brooklyn, you're locked in.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it inferior to be in...
Well, Brooklyn was more prestigious, I
Yeah,
think.
in those days.
It was more prestigious.
They got a head start.
They always looked upon, like out
That
here.
was the city. We were the sticks.
Yeah, we were like the sticks out here. Like,
Sticks. We're out in the sticks.
nobody wanted to come here. Or if you got to go to Blue Point as pastor, you were sick.
Oh, yeah.
You know, physically, your heart was bad or something. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because it was the country out here. Go out there and we'll give you a young curate to do all the work.
Well, it was Father Rooney who replaced Daly when he left.
Yeah, I
He
know.
wound up burying 3 pastors.
Yeah, he did. One after the other, they died.
Really?
Because they were sick to begin
Yeah.
with. They weren't healthy men. And
Get him out of the city and,
this
send him
was
out
like
in this fresh air.
This was like the country out here. Come out here and you can relax.
Breathe deeply, boys.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And during the winter, there wasn't much going on here. It was pretty quiet.
at the church?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they had all those nuns teaching.
Yeah.
They did all the work. They did all the religious instruction and everything.
Really?
If you look at, she took the picture to copy it, but there's that picture of the front of the church.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can just see the sign behind, I guess, where my brother was sitting or whatever. But it says Sunday Masses, 8:30, 10:30,
12?
12. That was it.
That's it.
In the summer, it was 8, 9, 10, and 12.
Yeah.
They had the extra one because of
Yeah,
all the
people.
new people
Get
coming
that
in.
city
More
money.
people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Well, we have about 5 minutes. Anything else you want to bring up that you were thinking of that would be
I didn't know we
unique?
were restricted, Gene.
Yeah, we are. We have 1 hour. That's all we have. I know. Some people leave here.
See what happens?
No commercial breaks?
No breaks.
No.
No
Okay.
commercial.
But some people come back for, like Anna Davis was just here for a second sitting
Wow.
because she was talking all about the library.
Oh, yeah, that's
That's
right.
wonderful.
Did she have that much to say?
Yeah, she had a lot to say. She was director
bad.
for
Oh, bad.
25 years and was in charge of the 2 new additions here, and there was a lot to it.
She's a nice lady.
Yeah, nice lady,
She
real
really
nice.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you miss the store, Alden, as much as everybody else? Everybody bemoans the fact that Shan's closed.
Well, yeah, I miss it.
Yeah, I know.
I had a good time.
It was wonderful. We all
was.
miss it.
It was.
And the customers were all nice.
Always
And we-
nice people.
Sure.
I remember the day I went shopping there and forgot my wallet. Got online
I
to
hope we threw you out.
No, you didn't. They just said, "Well, that's all right. Just take the ticket and pay us whenever."
Tell you what, stock those shelves over there.
Go to work.
And say penance.
Then I remember one time I bought a case of Bud Light, and I'm putting it in the car, and I come up and I cut my head on the trunk or something, and you came out and said to me something about Bud Light that shouldn't have happened if you were carrying light. You know what I mean? It wasn't as heavy as regular beer. But anyway, Shan's was an institution. That's for sure. Anything else, Joe, you wanted to wrap up with?
Only that it's been a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
It's a lot of fun.
Especially with Alden.
Yeah, I know. It's a good
And with
combination.
you.
Yeah, good combo.
I've known for
Yeah.
God knows how many years.
A lot of years.
Maybe we should go on the networks.
Yeah, well, this will be going international, you know.
No
It'll probably
kidding.
be, yeah. If you live anywhere in the world, you could pick this up anywhere in the world once it goes online.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll get fan letters, Joe.
We'll get fan letters, right?
Tasmania and all kinds of places.
Widows.
You don't dream.
Checks.
No, there's no cameras.
Just said
That'll be a
cash.
terrible disappointment.
Yeah, what a disappointment. Yeah, well, they'll get to see us too because the pictures are there. So that'll be nice.
This was fun, Gene.
Yeah, it's a fun.
Nice.
It's a fun
It was a great
program. It
idea.
really
It was a
is.
great idea
Yeah,
to do this.
a community thing. Yeah, it's
One of
good.
the regrets I have in life is that before my father passed away, I never sat him down in front of a tape recorder
Yeah.
and did something like this
No.
because he would.
Would he have spoken out?
I think he would have. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
He came out here. He was born in 1901 in the city, and came out here when he was a year old. And he tells stories about going shopping in Patchogue on a horse and buggy, and the trolley that used to be around,
Yeah.
all this stuff. And those stories are just.
Where did he
they're gone.
live, Joe, when he came out like in 01? Where was the Monteith house? In
Well, there was no Monteith
Patchogue?
house. His father was an immigrant from Scotland, his mother an immigrant from Ireland.
Okay.
And he was a gardener, and she was a cook.
Okay.
And they married in the city, and when they came out here, they worked on some of the estates until my father was 13 years old when his father died. So my grandmother then had a 13-year-old kid and no Social Security or anything what to do. So she, with the money that she was able to scrape together, she bought the house on Blue Point Avenue.
Right.
And again, summer community. She ran that as a boarding house, and that's where my father grew up.
A boarding house? Was that a...
No, I-N-B-O.
B-O-A-R-D-I-N-G. Not boarding. That might have resulted in more income, though, I think. But
And so
anyway,
that's where the family house came from.
that's where it came from.
Yeah. And then when she passed away, my father and mother were living in Patchogue when they were first married.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he inherited the house,
Sure.
and
Gosh.
that's where they were living when I was born.
Yeah.
Your father sold insurance, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
For whom?
Prudential. Yep.
Prudential. He knew Uncle Walt Williams. Do you remember that?
Yes,
name?
I do. I do remember the name.
That's Flo's uncle.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He's married to Florence Shand, who was Flo's aunt.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Interestingly enough, your wife was my daughter's third grade teacher in Academy Street.
She covered a lot of kids.
She did. She did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Third grade.
Third grade.
And she remembers her, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. All right, well, thanks a lot, guys. It was a great
Well,
session.
we're not finished yet.
You're not bringing lunch in? Or?
There's no lunch, but if you go to Flo's, you can use our platinum card down there, all right?
Flo's. We never talked about Flo's.
No, I know we
No,
never got to
Flo,
Flo's,
yeah.
but that's an institution down
yeah.
there. I often think,
Do you remember her sitting in the corner of that building?
See,
and
I don't remember Flo.
she was a. you remember her?
I do,
don't you?
yeah.
Flo.
She was a very
little
attractive
kid.
and,
Yeah.
Flo
and,
Kimball.
and a good person to run a family arrangement
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
She's buried in the back here, but
Is she?
doesn't have a monument. She died in 1950.
Did she have any family?
Florence Kimball.
Kimball.
I don't, offhand, I don't know of any family, no. No. And then Betty took over, Betty
Yeah.
Edmonds.
Yeah.
She ran the stand, and after that, had a couple of owners.
But in the summer, we used to ride our bikes down there
Yeah.
at night and grab a hamburger.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
As we got a little bit older, if you had a date and went to the movies,
Go
you
to
really stopped
Flo's.
at Flo's at the end.
Yeah.
You bet.
Meet and eat at Flo's. Yep.
But it changed, though. This is a few years ago.
Yeah.
I went down there and I ordered a perfect hamburger.
Oh,
And they looked at me like, well,
What?
all our hamburgers are perfect. No.
What are you, some kind of trouble?
It used to come with a slice of onion, ketchup. That was what they
Yeah.
call a perfect hamburger. All you had to say is, I want a perfect hamburger, and that's what you got.
they still have the Flo's special, though. I think that's Canadian bacon
Canadian
or something.
bacon,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just usually get a plain cheeseburger.
No more perfect hamburgers.
No more perfects. Now, what would Flo think of that?
I don't know.
Plus, Flo is probably only charging 25 cents or something. Now it'd be $5.
Yeah, I think they were.
I don't know what they were, but the
Not
price
a lot.
had
I
changed.
remember it was less than $1.
Yeah. The stand
Hamburger
today, though,
and
looks really,
chocolate milk and
it looks real nice today.
It does.
Flo's
It
is
really does,
nice.
yeah.
Yes, it is. It's,
Yeah.
it's a good place to go.
Yeah.
yeah.
No question. We were there the other day.
The Vigilatas own it. Did you know that?
Okay.
Connor is the.
What did they do before they?
I don't really
Were they in the
know.
food business at all?
I don't know, but they've owned Flo's now for about 15 years.
Is this part of the Vigilata family?
Yes.
It is.
Over there, and
Did
Over at
go-
Atlantic
Atlantic
Avenue.
Avenue,
Did you know
yes.
them, Joe?
Yeah, nice people.
There were a whole bunch of kids in that family.
Yeah.
One of them was a year behind me in high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was Chris.
They all went to Seton Hall.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks very much, guys. It was great, and look forward to getting the cassette and hearing this thing broadcast around the world. Around 60 minutes, maybe next week.
This marks the end of the interview with Alden, Olsson, and Joe Monteith.